joining us and sharing some of your thoughts. Sureshji, as you know, Hinduism, a religion, or more appropriately a belief system, thousands of years old. I'd like to explore with you how Hindus incorporated some of the aspects of environment in their religion.
Atalji, you could say that Hinduism is a behavior, a human behavior. There are no demarcating lines in our life which will separate us as human beings from environment, from our religion, or from our rest of the culture. It's a complex. It's one big complex, and we are a part of this complex. We come from this complex and we return to this complex. When you look at the ancient philosophy of Panchabhuta, the 5 elements, water, air, Agni, Prithvi, Akash. These are the elements of environment. Our being, total being, is composed of them. And when we die, all these elements go back and merge in them.
So this is very interesting, because you are saying that these 5 elements, which are the founding or building blocks of ourselves, they are part of the environment. So there we are.
Yes, so we are the creation of the same environment we live in. Now what has happened, that Vedic rishis, the Vedic visionaries, they had a wonderful way of not only sustaining the environment in which they lived, but also being a part of that at the same time. It was not a project for them that they had to sustain, but they were a part of it. And for that, they developed lots of styles, several styles to sustain it and be sustained at the same time. And one of them I think of was personification of environment. But before that, they started coexisting with it. They were a part of it. If something happened to the environment, they felt hurt. If you might remember that in the Ramayana, written by Valmiki, there comes a reference to Kranch Vad, the murder of a crane bird. Actually, that was the start, the trigger for the entire Ramayana composition. And this rishi sees a hunter going and killing, shooting an arrow at this bird, and she dies. This was a couple. And the heart of this poet or rishi or the visionary, it just flooded out. And that started the Ramayana itself, the compassion that he felt for that bird.
This is a very touching story, and I find it extremely interesting to see how that episode became the stepping stone for a very major epic in there. So what is the global vision of our ancient sages as far as environment around the humankind is concerned?
You are a part of it. We are a part of it. We will sustain it, whichever way it happens. We worshipped it, we personified it, we deified it. Personification, go back to the beautiful story of Indra, how the universe was created. Indra killed a demon. It was called Vritra, and released the life-sustaining elements of moisture, heat, and air. Heat, now in Vedas, you would notice that Agni, which has 3 forms. One is the terrestrial form, which is fire, which is the celestial form, which is sun, and the third one is the atmospheric form, which is lightning. Now, Agni has such an important place in Vedas. We do nothing without fire. Fire is light. We are surrounded with these lights here. Okay? So Agni is considered as the priest, a liaison between human beings and gods.
So this tradition of Hindus being part of the environment and worshipping, and as you use the word personification, I want to explore it a little bit. What did you mean by that word, personification?
But personification, what you do, you give a human shape, a human form You think of the element in a human form. So Agni becomes God Agni.
Agnidev.
Agni Dev becomes your representative, your liaison. He performs a function for you. When you do yagyas, the fire sacrifices, the flames of it are the liaison. It takes your offering to gods. So there is a human face given to it, and it's a function assigned to it. It's an operational thing.
This is very interesting because now you are pulling together, not only we personified these major elements of the environment, but we also worship them.
We worship
And if you worship someone, you respect them enough, so why would you like to destroy them? So this is very interesting. I'd like to explore one more thing. Ganga or Ganges, always Hindus have treated Ganga as Mata. In fact, in one of the episodes of Aaradhna, we had a very beautiful song. What do you think is behind this, our worshipping of Ganges as a river, as a mother?
Well, Ganges is water. Water is life. In the beginning I said Indra released water. So that is the body of water. It's cool, Sheetal, Shant, peaceful. But it has, Ganges has several stories behind it. To start with, Ganges is the daughter of Himalaya. Indra borrowed from earth Ganges and took it to heaven for the pleasure and cool baths of the gods. So that's one story. Okay. The other story is that Ganges was the water contained in the pot kamandalu of Brahman. And during at the Vaman avatar, Brahma washed Lord Vishnu's feet with that water. That is Ganges. But the third one is Ganges was brought on earth by Sagar's great-grandson, Bhagirath. There is a story in Puranas that Sagar had 60,000 sons. And he was performing an Ashwamedh ceremony, horse ceremony. He had already performed 99, and he was going for the 100th. Well, Indra didn't like it. He felt threatened. My God, this will give him enormous power. So what he did, you know the process. The horse is let loose, and it's a sort of a challenge. If either you accept the authority of the king who the horse belongs to, or you challenge. So most of the time people accepted, but Indra felt threatened. So what he did, he stole it and hid it, took it to Patal Lok, to the Netherlands, and put it there. And well, it was lost. What do you do? So Sagar sent his son, Asmanjas. He couldn't find. So he sent his son, and he could not find. Then went Dilip, his son, he couldn't find. Bhagirath, and he found. And when he found, then he also disturbed some, I'm sorry. His father, Dilip, he found, but he disturbed. And when he disturbed, he killed all the 60,000. He was in tapasya. He killed all 60,000 with his anger, with his rage. Now what do you do? But he said, okay, I'll give you one way of getting them back, or for moksha. And that is, you have to bring from heaven Ganges here.
So this is a very tremendously colorful story about Ganges. And if you look at the river and the importance of the river for all the people living around it, Hindus, then you can see why Ganges is so revered. And
you see, because of the Ganges, those 60,000 souls that were lying imprisoned there, they were released. So it's moksha. A bath in the Ganges gives you moksha. That's the first one. And everybody who runs to Haridwar or Allahabad or Varanasi, moksha. Secondly, they take their dead bodies there for moksha, because a dip in the Ganges is essential. Then there are other reasons why Ganges is worshipped so much.
I really appreciate you bringing it in a very new context, because I knew Ganga or Ganges is so important, but I didn't realize it has such a ancient history to it. But isn't our tradition of worshipping or respecting the environment going all the way back to Vedas, especially Rig Veda? How old is this tradition?
This tradition comes from Rig Veda actually, worshipping idol at that time. Our forces of nature were our gods and we worshipped them. And then we deified them, deification is worship. So it goes back to that. But then other tribes started joining the traditions who worshipped idols at that time. So we started giving shape to these natural elements. And we started worshipping them in shape, in forms. So Ganga has a form. Now she is not only a woman, they have relationships. They get married together. She is the wife of Lord Shiva. So now she is worshipped in her own rights, as well as she is worshipped as the wife of Lord Shiva.
This is very interesting because this is how the name Parvati comes in.
Parvati is a sister of Ganga. Himalaya had two daughters, Ganga and Parvati. Parvati's first name was Uma. But when she got married to Shiva, she was also called Parvati from Parvat, from the mountain. So they're sisters. And also they are co-wives because Shiva married them both. And they
both Ganga
both
and
Ganga,
Parvati.
yes. One he kept very close to himself in his hair, Ganga, and Parvati sat next to him. So there was a bit of a jealousy also.
So where do you see our tradition, very ancient tradition of respecting and being part of our environment in today's Hindu society?
Today's Hindu society, when it comes to looking at these idols and gods and goddesses, we worship them, we pray them, we offer ourselves, we offer flowers, food and everything. Every year we have special festivals for them. But we have become very contradictory in our behavior also. That we have forgotten that these are the same gods, goddesses that our culture has been worshipping for thousands of years, that we should not abuse them. Now, there were laws developed in our ancient literature to sustain them. Manusmriti very specifically specify what not to do to the rivers. Don't throw garbage in it, don't spit, no urination, no feces. Manu was very strict about this. But do we care?
This is what modern society does that. Yeah.
All these natural elements were also associated with other gods later. Now, like Ganga, we associated with Shiva. Jamuna, we associate with Krishna. When he was born, his father crossed the river and took him to the next other village. Do you think Krishna will travel through this Yamuna that in the present form is so filthy, is so dirty? Krishna would not do that, or he will have to do something else to purify it.
Well, I really appreciate your putting these things in a proper context, and I'd like to thank you, Sureshji, for taking time to come here and explaining to us how Hindus, ancient and to a degree even modern Hindus, have put the elements of the environment very much in center, and as you said, not only personified them but also deified them so that they could worship them. And it makes so much more sense to me. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.